Thank you for joining me for story time. Today's story is called The Present. This story is about Abraham and his son Isaac, and if you'd like to read this story, you can read it in the Bible in Genesis 22. God had a secret plan, a secret rescue plan, but he knew that the only way it was going to work is if Abraham completely trusted him. God had to make sure that Abraham would do whatever he asked of him. So a few years later, God asked Abraham to give him a present. Now, Abraham liked giving God's presents, so he gave God his animals, and they were called sacrifices. It was Abraham's way of saying to God, "I love you, God." But this time, God didn't want a lamb or a goat. God wanted Abraham to give him something more, something much more. He wanted Abraham to give him his son, his only son, whom he loved very much, Isaac. Put his body on the altar and kill him as a sacrifice. How could God want Abraham to do something so terrible? Abraham didn't understand, but he knew that God was his father who loved him, and so Abraham trusted him. Early the next morning, Abraham and Isaac set off. They climbed the steep stony trail up the mountain. Isaac carried the wood on his back. His father carried the knife and the coals. "Papa," Isaac said, "we have everything except we forgot to bring the lamb for the sacrifice." "God will give us the lamb, son," Abraham said. They built an altar and laid the wood on top. Abraham asked his son to climb on top of the wood. Isaac didn't understand, but he knew his father loved him, so he trusted him. He climbed up onto the altar, and Abraham tied his boy to the wood. Isaac didn't struggle or try to run away. He just laid there quietly, didn't make a sound. Everything was ready. Abraham took the knife. Tears were filling up in his eyes. Pain was filling up in his heart. His hand was shaking. He lifted the knife high into the air. "Stop," God said. "Don't hurt the boy. I want him to live and not die. I know now that you love me, because you would have given me your only son." Abraham felt his heart leap with joy. He unbound Isaac and folded him in his arms. Great sobs shook the old man's whole body. Scalding tears filled his eyes, and for a long time they stayed like that in each other's arms, the boy and his dad. Suddenly, Abraham saw a ram caught in the brambles, the sacrifice. God had given them what they needed just in time. The ram would die, so Isaac didn't have to, and so Abraham sacrificed the ram instead of his son. And as they sat there on the mountaintop, watching the embers of fire die in the cool night air, the stars above them sparkling in the velvet sky, God helped Abraham and Isaac understand something. God wanted his people to live, not die. God wanted to rescue his people, not punish them. But they must trust him. One day, someone will be born into the family. God promised them, and he will bring happiness to the world. God was getting ready to give the whole world a wonderful present. It will be God's way of telling his people, "I love you." Many years later, another son would climb another hill, carrying wood on his back. Like Isaac, he will trust his father and do what his father asked. He wouldn't struggle or run away. Who was he? God's son, his only son. The son he loved, the Lamb of God. Thank you for sharing tonight's story with me. I pray that God will bless you. Goodbye.